Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions, where we're critical, not cynical, about the music we listen to. My name's Bryan, and we're going to check out a creator request today, which is where a smaller band gets in contact with me and asks me to look at their music specifically. I really enjoy doing this because I get to provide a bit of a promotion to these smaller groups, show them to a bigger audience, and also hopefully provide some feedback that, if they want, can help them improve their music in some capacity. I don't want to say that I'm some musical genius, because I'm honestly just a dude on the internet, but I do have a pretty good ear about these things. So let's dive into this. This is Eric Terino, Body Gets Stoned, featuring Jolie Holland.
My father said, son of my word, take heed. They'll try to confuse and they'll try to deceive.
Now we got a 6/8 going on.
Here's what you must let them conceive. Let all of the foolish things be as foolish as they need.
Already won my heart over with the trumpet. I don't know what the percussion is over here, but it's interesting that it's left hands. Really nice harmony.
Everybody gets stoned and everyone is dethroned. Now they've left us all alone, so let's all just get stoned. My father said, son, he'll use your
Nice little half valve into that high note.
You must let all of the wretched things succeed.
I like that little bass idea we got going on at the end of every bar.
Everybody gets stoned.
Sorry, every other bar.
Now they left us all alone, so let's all just get stoned. My son, he won't holler. He shall never thank greed, for I shall turn round and
I really do like that bass lick. It carries all the momentum.
everybody gets stoned and everyone is dethroned. Now we have no place to go, so let's all just get stoned. Everybody gets stoned. Everybody gets stoned. Everybody gets stoned. Everyone is stoned.
All right. So I'm getting kind of a singer-songwriter vibe here, mixed with, well, I guess, it kind of goes hand in hand, a little bit of a folk as well, where the music is repetitious in a way that allows the vocals to take over a majority of the moving ideas, which provides or allows focus to be put on the vocals, and the story can get told, which fits well with the fact that there are very few moments where there isn't singing going on. So from that angle, I think it works very well. I want to touch on some musicality first before we get into anything else, because I was quite impressed with this. There's not a lot going on, at any given time up until the ending, but it really is all about combinations, which I think is just a really cool way about composing a song. There is a box drum. I don't know the name for it, if it has a specific name, but it's like a little box you sit on and you put your hands between your legs and you just hit the box like a hollow box that you're sitting on. Um, that's the type of percussion this reminds me of. It's one tone. It definitely sounds like wood and not a drum head, and it is not a sharp crack or a very narrow timbre like we would have with drumsticks. It sounds flatter, so it could be a mallet, but it does have a slapping sound to it. So I'm thinking it's hands on wood. However, they go about crafting that, and it is hollow. It does have a hollow thunkiness to it, even though it is a very soft attack. There is this resonant hollowness. There's also our violin that's left panned. We have our piano, guitar, bass guitar, and our two vocalists. These are all the instruments that exist. It's not a very wide or large orchestration here. And what is that? 6 instruments, I think. But here's the interesting thing. Each instrument has really just two ideas going on. There's a idea and a B idea, and the cool thing is that it's not like a verse and a chorus idea. At least that's not what I heard. It's very possible that there is some structural thing going on that I missed, that these instruments do have specific lines for specific sections in the song. But what I heard was almost random. Sometimes the violin would play the first idea, sometimes it would play the second, sometimes our guitar would play the first idea or the second. Same with the piano. The bass was the only one that I felt was fairly consistent and had, or it could also be that its A and B are very similar. But the core idea here, the guitar, the piano, and the vocals primarily didn't change much. Same with the bass, like I said, to a little bit of an extent, primarily didn't change much. The atmosphere of the track remained fairly constant throughout the entire song. If it wasn't for the lyrical changes, I might not even have known that there was a chorus type section where we got to the everybody gets stoned part. That was repeated a couple of times in the track, and I was like, oh, that's our chorus. That's the heart, that's the home of this track. Everything else around it, it could very well be that we had a verse, chorus, bridge chorus idea going on here, but I didn't feel that. All I felt was the chorus. That was the only thing that I really picked up on. And a lot of that is because there's such a similarity in the musical components that it doesn't really have many concepts of landmarking with the atmosphere or the emotional aspects. And like I said, I couldn't find a pattern in when each instrument changed when it did. So just like I said, no landmarks really to my ears, which is fine. It's very singer-songwritery, very folky to do this. Just have one vibe and have it exist throughout. What I think is really interesting, though, not just that the song has one vibe and each instrument kind of has two modes, but the fact that the two modes were also paired, was also combined with different instrument pairings. Sometimes we would have the violin and the percussion. Sometimes we would have the violin and the piano. Sometimes we would have the guitar and the violin, or the percussion and the bass, and just like all these different combinations. Sometimes we would have one vocalist, sometimes we would have two. And it's not so much about changing the overall aspects of the song. We don't have dynamic parts that are louder or softer or wider or smaller. Completely ignoring the last 40 seconds, right? That's an outlier. We're going to talk about that in a second. The majority of the song is very constant. So much so to the point I already pointed out, I couldn't really feel different parts of the structure, different sections of the track. What does change, though, is which instruments we're hearing and what combinations of ideas we're getting out of them. And I think that is a phenomenal way to craft a song, because what it ends up doing is making the song feel hyperlinear, despite being based off of building blocks. This is what I want to talk about. This is my big takeaway on this track and what really stands out to me. we have a song that is entirely based on loops. We have a 2-bar riff. We have two different 2-bar riffs for our violin. We have two different 2-bar patterns in our drums. We have two different 2-bar bass ideas. Everything is based on these 2-bar, well, at least to my ears. There might have been some 4-bar ideas in there. In fact, some of the chordal things were 4 bars. But most of these stuff was 2-bar ideas. And if you were doing this in an audio workstation, you could easily record all these in a day, and the rest of it is just copy pasting these bars around. But the thing is that despite being completely based off of repeated ideas, the overall concept of the song is linear. The combinations of instruments are different from section to section. And even if we repeat the same combination of instruments, they still have multiple ideas that they can bring to the table to also create variation in that way. It makes every part of the song feel wholly unique while also feeling completely stationary. The song does not change its emotional atmosphere, it doesn't change its overall vibe. It is primarily the same from start to finish. So we have a song that feels like it doesn't go anywhere, but doesn't stand still. It feels like it is the same thing over and over, but it's really difficult to get a grasp on any one idea being repeated. It is an anomaly in musical sense. It's really fascinating, and I love this idea of linear building blocking. I'm going to have to figure out a better term to coin for that. Of taking these repeated ideas but utilizing them linearly. It's just very cool. And it's such a smart way to go about writing music. If you're going to write a linear track, it doesn't necessarily need to be totally linear, everything new from start to finish. I've talked about this before. Work smarter, not harder. And this is definitely a very smart way to write a song that feels linear very easily, very quickly, even. Um, Very cool thing to do there. One little suggestion though, when it comes to these, this can also be done in the audio workstation. Eric, if you're watching this, um, don't be afraid to invert or reverse invert something you've already recorded. Oh, man, it sounds like everything in here is acoustic, so that might not work as well. It's a lot easier to do with MIDI. Um, but yeah, if you record something, like especially like I said in MIDI, because it's just gonna you reverse recorded acoustic stuff and it's gonna sound weird. But you reverse the, well, you can do this acoustic as well. It just takes a little more work. Reverse the notes, right? Instead of starting from the leftmost part of your score, start from the rightmost part. That's backwards because of the reversing of the camera. Anyways, start from the opposite end and play it that way, or flip them over. So your staff is inverted. So in the treble clef, your E's, your F's at the bottom will become E's at the top. And that way you can keep the same intervals between all your ideas, but your rises are now falls, your falls are now rises, and you're working with a different range. So you only have to write one thing and you can find multiple ways to craft it. And it really works well in this building block idea. Like I said, if you're using the MIDI, otherwise you'd have to manually transpose it and then re-record it. Which I'm also very happy that I heard so much acoustic work in here as well. I'm a big fan of being able to see the performance of what I hear. Something else I want to touch on though, real quick, is just the harmonies. I kind of wish Jolie Holland had a little bit more work here outside of just harmonizing with the lead vocals. It's a beautiful harmonization. I really love it, but have some counterpoint in there. Turn it into a canon. There's a lot of ways to utilize a second voice other than just purely layering the same idea an octave higher. And we're going to get into the lyrics. Maybe thematically, just those ideas don't work, and the harmonization is a perfect encapsulation of what you're trying to say with the words. But just on a purely musical level, you're going to double up something, find a couple of different ways to do it. And I think that's my big. I don't even want to say criticism because the song works really well as it is. But tips, I guess I should say. And again, these are very simple things that you can do even after the recording process. Just offset Julie's section by like 2 or 4. Well, this is in 6/8, so like 3 or 6 beats, and you get a little bit of a canon going, or you can do call and response. There's a lot of things you can do even in post recording to get some really neat ideas going on. Um, we got to talk about the final section though. This was interesting because this brought everything together in a hyper something way. I don't even know if I have an adjective for it. Every instrument was playing. Very big, very wide sound, very oppressive in a sense compared to what we had just listened to, with all of its very fine tuning of who was playing when and what they were playing and making sure that everything just kind of sounds good together. Not much overlapping going on. Lots of space between all the instrumentation. Just really great production in the rest of it for a very clean sound. And here we kind of grit it up a little bit. We dirty it up. We bring in so many things that there's just too much sound going on. And I think my favorite aspect of this was actually including more than 2 vocal lines and allowing them to be offset time wise. So it sounds like almost a group of people singing together, without the perfection of a workstation, allowing, attacks and releases to be just a hair out of time with everybody else. Um, I'm curious to what it means. I'm really interested to dive into the lyrics and figure out what the purpose of this is, why the song built up to this moment, and what it means. But I do think, even just from a musical aspect, it's really interesting to hear all of the ideas that have been presented throughout the track, while they were used sparingly to craft specific feels, and specific combinations of ideas, all done at the same time, and to hear what it feels like for all of the building blocks to be stacked on top of each other. So like I said, not quite sure about what it's saying, but it's a really neat idea, especially based on how the song is built. So let's dive into some lyrics here, see what's going on. There are a lot of lyrics for. It's so funny when we check out like metal songs, it'll be like a 10-minute song with 2 stanzas. And then we check out folk or singer songwriter stuff, really vocal focused genres, which I mean, it makes total sense. But we have a 3-minute song, and this is like 4 metal tracks worth of lyrics. Oh, man. All right. My father said, "Son of my word, take heed. They'll try to confuse and they'll try to deceive. Here's what you must do. You must let them conceive. Let all of the foolish things be as foolish as they need." Everybody gets stoned and everyone is dethroned. Now we have no place to go, and let's just all go home. Okay. On top of a hill stood one silent star, screaming for the light but damned to the dark. He flew determined like a baby unmaimed, like the curse in his eyes, like a god without a name. This is interesting. Our first stanza had an AAAA rhyming scheme. Our chorus has an AAAA rhyming scheme. A couple of soft rhymes in there, but the long O idea is present throughout all of them. This one goes to an AABB. Interesting shift. Um, oh, this has a lot of lyrics, but it's also 4 times on the verse. I mean on the chorus, 5 times on the chorus. So um, really not a lot unique lyrics, but also again it completely falls in line with the type of music it is. So what do we have so far? A father speaking to his son says that people will try to confuse you of what you must do, but let them be foolish. There was a silent star on top of a hill screaming for light, but damned to the dark. All right, so a star that wanted to be more, but couldn't. Flew determined like a curse in his eyes, like a god. Okay, so it seems like they were flying towards light, presumably. Uh, Let me get the chorus again. My father said, son, he'll use your whole to breed. You must scorn the condemned before they're worth conquering. You must let all the wretched things succeed, the filth in his gut, the curse in his seed. Interestingly, the first verse says that let them be foolish. Do what you have to do while they're being dumb. This one says that you must let the wretched things succeed. Although I guess the context is succeed the filth in his gut. I don't. Kind of losing me on this metaphor here. And then our final verse is, my son, he won't holler, he shall never feign greed, for I shall turn around and never have peace. So is this about someone who has vast ideas of what they want to do? They have very clear goals. They may be a bit lofty, and there's a lot of people bringing them down. And in the end, they lose. Everybody gets stoned and everyone is dethroned. Is this a story about the reality of dreams? That everybody as a kid wants to be an important person. They all, back in the day, we half of my class was like, I want to be an astronaut. I want to go to space. Like that was a big deal. Now everybody's like, I want to be a YouTube star. I want to be a TikTok star. Now that's what kids are wanting to be these days. But the reality is, not everybody can do that. That's kind of what I get out of this song. And I don't know how to tie this into that final moment. I honestly don't know how to tie it into most of the emotion of the track. I think I've got a bad read on these lyrics because the song is going with a very specific emotion. It's very upbeat, and it could just be that the division between the musical themes and lyrical themes are on purpose for some reason as well. I'm not seeing much synergy between the two, and it does not help me contextualize the final moment as much as I enjoyed it musically. I'm missing its purpose in the story. But again, this is also not a type of music that tends to put importance in musical ideas. They tend to just exist for the song to be told over, the story to be sung. So I could just be looking at this entirely wrong. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Eric Terino's Body Gets Stoned featuring Jolie Holland. That's where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this one, anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on. Drop them down there. Above the comment section is a description box. In there is not. Well, there is a link to Linktree, but I'm not going to talk about it. In there is a link to all of Eric Terino's stuff. Any music streaming platforms, any social media I can find, anything to help you get in contact with them and listen to more music or pick up merch or whatever you want to do regarding this. We have one more special selection, one more creator request today. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow with an album review. Sunday is the live stream, and Monday we'll be back with next week's theme. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.